today I'm just gonna do like a bit of it, just an intro into it. So we'll be considering how to get data from different sources into Power BI and the things you should pay attention to while you're trying to get your data from multiple sources into Power BI. All right, let's get started. Hello guys, welcome to Data Rant, and it's so amazing to have you here today. And it's quite a privilege for me to be sharing, one or two contents with you. And today, very specifically, I'll be talking about data visualization. I've already made like an elaborate video on this, describing what data visualization is all about. But I'm just going to recap. Okay, so data visualization is basically when you are trying to communicate the details from your data using charts. Right, so instead of bringing out numbers that could be a lot, you just try to communicate, the insights you've gotten or what your data basically tells using some form of charts, like familiar charts, like pie chart, like histograms, like bar charts, so that whoever that it's seeing those charts or the visuals can easily understand what is going on in your data. So basically that's what data visualization is all about. So I'm going to be doing a series on this data visualization and the things attention should be paid to if you want to communicate your insights from the data in a way that will not lead to brain clutter. All right, so this series I'll actually be working with the business intelligence tools, which is Microsoft Power BI. So there are several other tools like Tableau, like Google Data Studio, but for this series I'm just going to work with Microsoft Power BI. So yeah, just before we get started, I will be using Power BI Desktop, and if you want to follow through, I just want to be sure that you get all your Power BI Desktop environment ready and set up. So once we start, we can just get going, because I'm not going to go into the details of setting that up. So I just believe that you can spend some time now to get your environment up, and then we'll just go straight in. All right, so I guess that your environment is set up now. So let's just dive in. But before then, today I'm just going to do like a bit of it, just an intro into it. So we'll be considering how to get data from different sources into Power BI and the things you should pay attention to while you're trying to get your data from multiple sources into Power BI. All right, let's get started. Okay, so this is my desktop. I'm using a Windows machine. So this is my desktop, and I'm just going to launch the Power BI app and Power BI Desktop. Like I earlier said, I believe yours is also ready. So this is it on my taskbar. I'm just going to launch it from here. And it's going to take a while to load. So Power BI Desktop is actually very easy to use in visualizing your data. It's just straight through process. You might need to pay attention to some more complex commands later, but it's really like a straight through process. Yeah, so my desktop, it's as loaded properly right now, and so I just want to take this out and just start. So this is what it basically looks like. So we have like the place where you can do all your visuals, and if you want to talk about like the filters that you need to work on your visuals, this is like the filters part. This is like the different form of visuals, and this is like the fields depending on the kind of things that you've brought in, like your tables and stuff. But currently this is blank because we don't have like any table here yet. So we are going to, like, the focus for today is just to see how we can get data from multiple sources. So we are going to go get our data right now. All right, so if you want to get the data, you can see here on this particular menu bar, you can see get data, and still here you can see like Excel, Power BI data sets, SQL Server, enter data, and then recent sources. So these are like channels you can get your data, but all of these channels are also contained in this get data. So let's go there. So we see like the common data sources, your Excel. Power BI also has its own data sets that you can work with. Power BI data flows, SQL Server, analysis services, text, CSV, web, OData feed, blank query. You can even do like a query to generate data. Yeah. So let's click on more. So here we see all the different sources that we can, get data from using Power BI Desktop. So it has like a lot of integration with different other, services, softwares, and you can make it like pretty much easy to get your data into Power BI desktop. But we're just gonna, pay attention to like the very basic as of today. So we're gonna read data from 3 different sources. We'll try to read like from an Excel file and from a CSV file. CSV basically means comma separated values. So we're gonna read from a CSV file, and then we're also trying to see how we can get data from the web. Like go to a particular website and then get the data from there. All right. So reading from an Excel. So you just click like your Excel here, which is already highlighted. So you just click connect and you look for where to get the data. So I'm going to go to my desktop and data. So I have like an Excel file here, which is like the sample superstore data. So I'm just going to click that to reading my data into Power BI desktop. So it's taking a while to load. All right, so the data is loaded. Now from my Excel data, it looks like we have like 4 different sheets from the data itself. So that's why it's being ordered like this. So these are how Power BI renders data when you read it from Excel and most likely every other place. So it renders all the tables that it finds, and then you can actually go through or try to load the ones you want. So let's look at the data itself. So we see the orders sheet. So you can actually just click to view what the data looks like if it's really like the data you want to load. So we see this is the data. We have the order ID, order date, ship date, all of this in here. So this is the data, and you can also look at this. And basically it looks almost like the first one. So I think that's like a copy of the first one. So we also see like the people. So we see the people data, we have just 2 columns, and it doesn't really have like a column head. We see something that the column head is actually like the first row here, and this is something you should also pay attention to while you're reading your data. Let's look at the returns sheets. So the return sheet also have just 2 columns, and then the same issue we saw in the people sheet is also the same thing we are having here. So the first row basically has the headers to these 2 different columns. All right, so that is it from the data. We already have an idea of what our data looks like, and we just want to read it into Power BI. So you just need to select the tables you need. So in this case, I want us to work with the orders, the people, and the returns table. Now, once you select the tables you need, now you come here and you're going to see the load, transform data, and cancel. Now, if you click on load, which is the one highlighted in yellow, if you click on load, it's going to immediately load your data to Power BI desktop, and you just start working on the data right away. But it's always advised that you click on transform data, because there might be like a few transformations that you may want to do before you load the data to start visualizing, right? So if you click on the transform data, it's going to take you to the Power BI query editor, where you can actually do some form of transformation on your data, most likely like things like data type, or you want to create like new columns, or you want to do any form of transformation, change how the date types look like, or whatever transformation you're going to do. So it's always important and necessary for us to go with the transform data, so we can try to fix the issues that we've earlier found in our data, just to ensure that the data is in the right shape. All right, so this is it. So we're just going to click like transform data here, so it will take us to our Power BI query editor, and from there we will be able to do our transformations into the data. So you can see we are now in the Power Query editor, right? So this is how it looks like now. One of the things you will notice is this, at this part you will notice applied steps. So while we are trying to load our data, and then for it to come to this particular point, Power BI already applies certain form of transformation on the data already to make our data appear the way it is. And it's always important that you try not to tamper with these steps applied. All right, so it's always advisable not to try to do anything to the steps that were originally applied. However, every other thing that you're going to do with this data, it's going to fall under this. So every other step you carry out is going to fall under this. And if you're not satisfied with what you did and you want to, go back to a previous step, you just click like the X here and delete the step you don't like, and it will take you back to the previous step. All right, so the first thing that we've noticed in the returns table now, it's that we noticed that the header, this particular row, is meant to be the header, and it's now a row in the data. So Power BI can easily fix this. So if we look up here, we can see use first row as headers. So use first row as headers will automatically make this to become the header. So that's the transformation we want to do with that data. So there. So that has changed. So the first row now has become the header, and then we see that a step has been added, promoted headers, and the type has changed. So we see that every step we apply, actually, it's added here. And if we want to take that out, we can always like delete it and it to be taken out. All right, so this looks like the transformation we need with this data. Everything looks all right. So let's go to the people's table, and it looks as if it also needs the exact same transformation we did with the other one. So we'll just go with use first row as a headers. And yeah, so that is fixed, and this table looks quite good enough for us to start our analysis. Let's look at the orders table. So the orders table doesn't have that header issue, right? And everything seems to look fine here, but let's pay attention to certain things, and I'm also going to explain some other things using this particular data. Right, so if you notice that on each of the columns, you will notice something here. This stands as the data type for each of these columns. So here we see that this is like a whole number. This is like, like a string. This looks like dates. This looks like calendar, like dates. This is like a string. So we can just click this and we can see that we have different data types. So this is also something that you would always want to look at while you're trying to transform your data, to ensure that each of your columns carry the essential data type that you need to work with. Because if your data type is not correct, you might not be able to do much detailed analysis with your data. Right, so this is like a whole number here, and we see that the ABC is like text files, and then this stands for like date, and then we have like the date and time, right? So that's also something you should pay attention to. So we see that this is all fine. This is the data type we want for that. We want dates for our order date and our ship dates. We want text for this, and the customer ID, because it has like alphanumeric, we want text for that. Customer name, text, segment, all of this is looking quite good. So it looks like our data here is quite ready for analysis. Now this is like the decimal number, because it's like sales, so it has like, some kind of floats in it, or like decimal figures. So it's very important that that's like a decimal, while your quantity is like a whole number, because you can either have like 1, 2, it depends on the kind of data. If you know that the quantity might need like maybe 1.5, which is supposed to be like 1.5, so you might want to change that to decimal, but it looks like the quantity here, all whole numbers. All right, so that is fine. And then your discounts, and then your profit. So this looks okay. So if you're certain that all your pre-processing is fine, the next step for you is to select this. So basically you can see close and apply. So you're going to close the Power Editor, and you're going to apply these changes, and it will take you to the Power BI desktop proper. So we'll do close and apply. So it's going to apply the changes right now on the different tables. And one thing you will notice is pay attention to this. Once it's loaded, you will see that the tables are going to all appear here, and then we can have something to start working with. Great. So like I said, all the tables are loaded here, and we can basically start our visualization. However, the visualization will not be covered in this video. It will be done in subsequent videos. This video is just to show you how we can load data from different data sources. All right, so that was it from Excel data. So we'll try to load data from a CSV file now. So we can still do the same thing. Just click the get data, and it's gonna take us to different sources that we can get data from. So we can select text or CSV, comma separated values like I earlier said, and you try to get your data from there. So this is our desktop, and under data we have like a CSV file here, still the same data. But this is like in a CSV format. So we are going to load this into our Power BI, and we are going to run through the same process. This data might be a little bit different from the other one. So just like we've seen here, the data is loaded and we have load or transform data. So we'll always go with the transform data to see if there are like any transformations that we need to be done in the data. All right, so everything looks good. The headers look good. Everything here looks fine. Order date. So our data looks absolutely okay. So our data looks quite fine. So this is basically how you just read data from your CSV file, very similar to reading from the Excel file. And what we need to do is just close and apply. I need to load it into the Power BI desktop proper. So this data we read from the CSV file, and these are all the ones we got from the Excel file.